Okay.
Okay. Hello again. I'm Miss Sandy, and this is my helper Carlos and my helper Colin. And today we're going to be talking about the Rosary. We probably are not going to say the whole Rosary, but we're going to talk about it and how it started and why it started. Now, as you all know, that most people could not read and write until recently. But what they did do was they developed a way of saying prayers. The people who couldn't read and write, remember, those were people who could afford to hire a tutor to teach them, and most people were out in the fields trying to get enough food so that they could live. So, the only people would be the priest. Now, the priest had to read and write because they were the ones who copied the Bible, and that would be their life's work. They had to sit there and copy each letter in the entire Bible, and it was a great big book, and it would take them years to do. And if they hadn't, by this time the Bible would be gone, because a Bible will wear out, and if somebody hasn't copied it and has a new copy to use, then it will be lost. So, and many books were lost, but at any rate, the monks and the priest had to read and write because they had this responsibility of copying it. But most people, as I said, didn't. So what we have is the Rosary, and the Rosary developed a long time ago. We're not exactly sure. Many cultures have beads that they say their prayers on beads, where the Catholic religion is not the only religion that uses beads, prayer beads. But what we do is, there were some simple prayers, 3 simple, easy to memorize prayers, and they were the Hail Mary. You know the Hail Mary, huh? And the Our Father, and the Glory be to the Father. Now let's say that. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So the people could memorize this. It would take some effort, but they could learn it. And then the next big prayer that is in the Rosary, because remember, there's only 3 main prayers to the Rosary: Hail Mary, Our Father, and Glory be. Let's say the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay, so that is the Our Father, the prayer that Jesus taught us himself. Now, the last one is very short, and it's called the Glory Be. Let's say that one. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. So these are the simple prayers. People could memorize them, and they would say them carefully, meaning, thinking about what they were actually saying. So they could say the Rosary. So on your Rosary, they have some decades. A decade means 10, and they would say 10 Hail Marys, just like we just said, and then they would get to the second bead, which isn't too easily to see. They would get to the second bead, And on that bead, they would say the glory be to the Father and the Our Father. And then they would say 10 more Hail Marys, and the same thing. Now, nobody really has to say the whole rosary at one time. If you, after you've said 10 Hail Marys, carefully thinking about what you were saying, and you're tired by the time you come to the glory be into the Our Father, you can put it down. You don't have to say the whole thing at one time. It's better to sit down, and then you can come back to it later. You can come back to it later that day. You can come back to it later the next day and pick it up at the second of the rosary. So each Hail Mary is a prayer, and it's called a rosary because it is a rose. Mary in heaven doesn't need our flowers that we grow here on earth, but she sure does like to get heavenly prayer flowers. And each prayer that we say, if we're meaning it, is a beautiful rose that goes up to heaven, and Mary receives that. And this is why it's called a rosary. It is full of roses. Okay, so we've gone around and thought about the joyful mysteries already with you. And what you're doing is, on that first decade, you're thinking about things from Mary and Jesus' life. So what we're going to do now is we're going to think about the glorious mystery. And the glorious mysteries are over here. So why don't we walk over here on the other side, so you all can go over there. What?
What happens if you wear the rosary?
Well, you shouldn't wear the rosary because it's not jewelry, and it's blessed. So it's a sacramental, and so that means it's a holy thing. It's not the host, but it's still a holy thing. It's made for prayer, so it's not jewelry. Okay, let's walk on over there. Okay, that bottom window. Is everybody here? Yes. Okay, what's happening in this is the first mystery of the glorious mysteries. It's the first decade. And there it is, you see Jesus coming out of the tomb. And that white towel he's got wrapped around him is part of the cloth that his body was wrapped up in. And so that's what we think about on those first 10 Hail Marys, if we're thinking about the glorious mysteries. And then on top of that, we see Jesus going up to heaven. And so, you see those little clouds? Yes. All right, this is Jesus saying, okay guys, my work here is finished. I'm going home. And how do you think the apostles thought about that? What? Anybody? What?
I think the apostles were sad and worried.
Yes, they were sad and worried indeed. They were saying, he's been talking to us for 3 years and he expects us to remember everything he said. We can't even read and write. We couldn't take notes. Oh my goodness, he's leaving. That's terrible. So they were very upset about that. But Jesus said, don't worry about it. What I want you all to do is go back up to that room where everything happened, and I'm going to send you someone who will help you to remember, who will help you to be strong and brave. And so they didn't know anything about what he was talking about, because in the Old Testament there's no mention of the Holy Spirit or the advocate. So they went ahead and they went up to that room and they waited for, they didn't know what? Now let's go look at this window right over here in the corner. Over at church. Okay, over here, we have all the apostles and Mary in that room. And suddenly, there was a great wind, and they saw a dove. You see the dove at the top? And then they had little pieces of fire called tongues of fire that went on the top of everybody's head. And then the Holy Spirit came into each of them and changed them, made them unafraid, made them able to speak languages that they didn't know how to speak, made them remember all the things that Jesus had told them. And the Holy Spirit is a helper. He is still a helper today. He is a helper in little ways and in big ways. If you have studied for a test and you can't remember an answer, you ask the Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, help me, I need this answer. And lots of times you will suddenly remember what the answer is. This is the Holy Spirit helping you. Or if you're in an argument and you don't want to say the wrong things, you don't want to make it worse, and you say, Holy Spirit, give me your words. And the Holy Spirit will tell you exactly what to say that will be nice and it won't make the situation worse. So the Holy Spirit helps us all, every day, all of our lives. He is our helper. And that's what advocate means, helper. All right, now let's over here. Everyone, right in this last window, what's happening here is that Jesus decided that Mary had lived on earth long enough. Now Mary was not God. She couldn't go up to heaven on her own power like Jesus did. And so Jesus said, go get Mom. She's still down there on earth, and it's time for her to come to heaven. So the angels came and lifted her up and brought her to heaven. And that's what's happening there. She was probably still living with John, who Jesus had said to John, take care of Mom, and she's now your mother, and she's our mother too. So John, when he got back to the house, guess what happened? Mary wasn't there, huh? And he looked all over for her, and he didn't find her. And he realized what had happened, that she had gone up to heaven. Okay, now let's look over here. What's happening here? What?
Jesus is crowning Mary in heaven.
Yes, Jesus is crowning Mary. When she did get to heaven, he said, Mary, you've been a really good mother, and you've done a lot of wonderful things. And you are going to be everyone's mother, but you're going to be crowned the queen of heaven and on earth. And everyone is going to pray to you, and you are going to come to me and say, Jason is praying for this intention, and he wants me to bring it to you. And so that's what Mary can do up in heaven. They talk all day, back and forth. There is no separation in heaven. So this is what's happening right here. Mary is being crowned. So these are the glorious mysteries. But each one of these things is an event in Jesus and Mary's life to think about while you're saying those 10 Hail Marys. And if you're in the car or you don't happen to have your rosary with you, you don't need these beads. You can say the rosary. You count the Hail Marys on your fingers. You have 10 fingers. That way you should know when you've done 10. These are just something that's blessed, that reminds you to say it, but you don't need to be holding it to say the rosary. Okay, I think that you all have any questions? What, Declan?
In the Bible, didn't it say that she was crowned with a crown made of 12 stars?
I think she does come down and say that she has stars in her crown. Yes. Okay. Anything else? No? All right, well, thank you all so much, and it has been really, really nice visiting with you and speaking with you. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. And you too, Claire. Right, the two Claires, huh?